Hi everyone, just checking out the live stream on YouTube. Let's go live on Instagram. Hi everyone, everyone's okay. I just gone live a little bit early just so I can sort out the position of things. I'm also trying to have a go at streaming live via YouTube as well. So if you have different devices, you can look at YouTube. It's a different angle. So the laptop's over there and the phone's over there. So I need to find a good way of doing this. Okay, so we're early, but that's fine. Make sure you get everything. Make sure your oven's on. All right, so 160 for electric and gas mark for gas. Make sure you wash your hands. I haven't got my scales. I'm going to go and get my scales. Scales, there we go. All right, so anyone on? Hello, Lily. So hi, I will find at some point, I'll find a good way of doing the camera angles and what have you. Right, so I'm not looking. Hello, everyone. If you want to let me and everyone else know where you're from, that'd be great. Okay, so make sure you get everything ready, everything out. I'll be back in one sec. Yep. Okay, back with my iPad, see if I can see what you're all saying without hunching down, probably not. All right, so we're going to start in 2 minutes. Reminder, if you just joined, make sure the oven's on, all right, if you're going to cook it now. So it's 160 and gas mark 4 if you're gas. I don't think I can see myself live, but there we go. Never mind. All right, so we all ready to rumble? Hello, Marcus. I said 160 fan. Yeah, absolutely, Bella. Hello, not so sunny Dartford. Hello, Mia. Yeah, it's not sunny at all. It's horrible, isn't it? How are you doing? You're good? The oven is on, and we say this again in a second when we start properly, but the oven is on 160, fan oven, 180 if it's not a fan oven, most are, and gas mark 4 if it's just a regular oven, okay? I'm conscious, so you can see my derriere when I bend over this way. All right, so we're past. And here we go, your first time cooking, glad to hear it. All right, so be mindful, I have to look down at my phone, which is at a weird angle. All right, so you can remember, we're streaming from in YouTube and Instagram. Going forward, by the way, we might actually stream just using YouTube because I think it's a little bit more user-friendly, a bit easier to see. So welcome everyone, give me a little shout out, tell me where you're from, whether on YouTube or Insta. So yes, as just a reminder then, make sure you wash your hands, really important with what's going on, and see what people are saying. Okay. The oven goes on 160 fan, gas mark 4, for the gas. All right, so 160 fan oven, electric oven, gas mark 4. Right, let's start then. So I didn't actually mention the tin. I mentioned it on the Eventbrite page, but here's an example of a tin you can use. If yours is round, that's fine. If yours is a little bit thinner, a bit fatter, that's fine as well. A little bit shorter, a little bit bigger, that's all fine. This is probably a good size. It will rise up quite fat, so you have a fairly chunky kind of cake. All right, so hopefully that's okay with everyone. What we can do first of all then is we're going to, and you will need to pop off and wash your hands after you do this. And when I teach this in class, I'm just going to move the ingredients to the side. Just remember, always keep it nice and tidy. Move the eggs out of the way just for a second. All right. So what we can do is, because this is a pineapple upside down cake, really popular in the just after the Second World War. Quite retro now, but what happens is you're making a sense of caramel base, and when we put the cake on top, we bake it and we turn it upside down, hence the upside down bit. So we're going to weigh 50 grams of butter. If you watched the primary video on Wednesday, if you haven't got scales, if you do, that's great. If you don't, inside the butter packet was always a little indication. So there's 25 grams, there's 50 grams. Okay, so you know. You can kind of use that as an idea, but we want 50 grams of butter, which I've already actually pre-cut. And what we're now going to do, and this always shocks people, is we're going to rub the butter all the way inside the tin. Now this is quite messy, but enjoy it. It will go lumpy, all right, and it will look like, you'll be like, my goodness, that's a lot of butter. All right, it's fine, trust me. What will happen is, in the oven, it will melt with the sugar and it will caramelize. So, show you mine quickly. Right, don't worry about if there's some stuck in the corners. Don't worry if it doesn't all, it's not all spread evenly. It will sort its life out in the oven when you put it in. All right, so I hope you can see that. Show it to both cameras. All smeared in. I've got some on my hands, so I'm going to go and wash my hands. Right, so if you do that, and then if you do the same as well, let me just quickly read the comments. Everyone okay? You got silicone, well done. You got a fan oven, good man. Right, I'll be back. I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, I'm back. Is everyone all right? So I took a while washing my hands, isn't it? Is everyone okay? Excellent. Right, so what we're now going to do then is we're going to weigh 50 grams of brown sugar and actually put it into the tin. All right, so I'm going to use this tin. So the way that I would do it, you can do it in a jug and pour it in, but I'm actually going to put this on top of the scale. Set it to 0. Now, with the sugar, by the way, so you notice in the recipe, there's 2 lots of sugar, 2 lots of butter. You can use, I've got here some light, soft brown sugar. To be honest, you can use Demerara sugar. You could use, there's literally about 5 or 6 different types of brown sugar. They all are very similar, but have different levels of what's called molasses, all right, which is a natural product from the sugar cane, all right? So what we're going to do is you're going to weigh or put in. If you don't have brown sugar, do not worry, you can use white sugar. All right, it is messy, you're all right. All right, so I'm going to put in 50 grams of brown sugar. Again, it doesn't really matter. Whoops, I've gone a bit over there. So I've got 67, let's take some out. Again, it doesn't matter. Whoops. So 50, right, let's move that out of the way. Got some there, let's put that. Right, so what we now do, actually I'll just put that in, that's fine, I'll do a little bit. So what we now do is literally just, you can kind of push it around or shake it around, doesn't particularly matter. And we're going to put that around the bottom. All right, so what you now have is lots of butter, brown sugar in the bottom of the tin. Okay, are we all good with that? Yeah, Demerara is absolutely fine. That's perfect. How much sugar? It was 50 grams of sugar. So that's 50 grams of butter, 50 grams of sugar. All right, Demerara sugar. Again, it doesn't really matter what sort of sugar. If you have white sugar, that's fine. All right, next stage. Give me a shout if there's any issues. What we're now going to do is put the pineapple in. At this point, you need to bring out your inner artist. Okay, because what actually, you can just put the pineapple in like that as rings, but what is quite nice, you don't have to do this, it's, you know, whatever time you've got, is cut the pineapple in half or quarters and lay them in the tin in a slightly more decorative fashion, because if you remember, this is going to be the top. All right, so it does matter what it looks like. All right, so, whoops, a daisy. I'll have to eat that bit. All right, so if we, all right, so it should be, it's about 7 rings. It depends on the size of the tin, obviously. By the way, keep the juice or the syrup, whatever your pineapple's in, because you may need it later to put in the mixture. Not necessarily, you might need a little bit in the mixture just to loosen it, so don't get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 5 at the moment. Let me just do another one. All right, put that in the middle. Put that in the middle. Okay, let's move that. Let's move that over here. Right, we're okay. So there we go, in the bottom, in the bottom. Apple's fine. Oh yeah, well, someone asked me about apple. Apple's fine, just make sure I peel the apple. So I peel the apple, cut it into quarters, take the core out, and then maybe lay those quarters into the tin. Or cut it into, you know, into 8s, doesn't really matter too much, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. Is everyone okay? Perfect. We're going to give it 1 second now. If you have cherries, I did say on one Instagram post, cherries is not everyone's thing. All right, glacé cherries. You can use fresh cherries, obviously with the stone out as well, but it's traditional for glacé cherries. We just put some cherries. If we do it like real proper old-fashioned, because you have the rings, you put the cherry actually in the middle of the ring. But I've done mine in half, so I'm just going to dot my cherries around. But remembering that when we tip this out, the bottom will be the top, right? So try and do it in a logical way that is going to look attractive when you push it out of the tin. All right, there we go. So let's move that out of the way. Alrighty, so can we all see? So there we go. And there we go. So that's the tin preparation done. All right, I'm just going to leave this to the side for 1 second. Over here. And then I'm just going to get a cloth and wipe the table. And you probably need to wash your hands, so I'll do the same. If you haven't done that, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so clean the table. Is everyone all right? Let's just make the sponge now. Let's check comments. We all good? We all good. Excellent. So I'm assuming we're all good. Okay, so at this point, then we're going to make the sponge. Now, this is the point that we've got two options here. One will take longer than the other. The sponge is simplicity itself. So if you looked at the ingredients, it's 100 of everything and 2 eggs, right? So it's a standard sponge mixture. All right, now you've got a sort of harder method or a slightly easier method. If you have an electric hand mixer, you can actually put everything in at the same time and whisk it with a hand mixer. All right, so what you would do is you'd put in 100 grams. Let's weigh 100 grams, 94, 97, Okay, 100. Well, what you would do, so I'm just going to do the old-fashioned method, which is called the creaming method. Right now, this is where you use the other sugar, so the white sugar or the caster sugar or the granulated sugar. I've just got some golden caster to have it from the primary one on Wednesday. All right, so you're going to put 100 in. So it's 100, 100, really simple. All right, so 100 of that. At this point, I'm going to do what's called cream the mixture together. All right, so I'm literally just going to I'm going to cream it with a spoon. However, if you've got a hand mixer, like an electric mixer, what you would do at this point is you'd weigh the 100 grams of flour, put in the baking powder, put in the cherries, put in the vanilla, and you'd mix it. Obviously, much simpler, all right? But I was going to do it the proper old-fashioned way. Okay, so if you're doing it the proper way or the old-fashioned way, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't make actually very little difference to the flavour or it rising. But I'm going to do it, you know. So if you are doing it the old-fashioned way with a spoon, you want to cut the butter up slightly. Make sure if your butter's rock solid, you're going to struggle slightly. You need to make it as small as you can so you can beat it together. Let's get the sugar on my fingers. All right, and what we're going to do is literally with the back of a wooden spoon, just the back, so the curved part, I'm going to push the butter against the bowl and I'm incorporating the sugar into the butter. All right, now this is not an instant 10-second thing. This will take a minute or two, probably a minute. Now we can squeeze it. Notice I'm tilting the bowl. This is the way I do it. I tilt the bowl and I squeeze. Tilt the bowl and squeeze. Remember, if you're going to do it all in one, literally put everything in, so 100 flour, 100 butter, 100 sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder that I say in a second, the 2 eggs and the 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and you whisk it up, right? And then you'd end up with, how much sugar do we need? So actually for the cake, it's 100 grams, right? So 100 grams of butter, 100 grams of self-raising flour, 100 grams of sugar, 2 eggs, everyone all right? No eggs aren't in here, absolutely not. So all I've got here at the moment, if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, is you've got the butter and the sugar, and you're creaming it. So what creaming means is that you're combining the sugar and the butter, so those two things become one. You need a bit of whirling, probably, you know, a bit of oomph. Probably tell I'm huffing, but that's okay. So if you're doing it this way, at the minute, that is just the butter and the sugar. That's all it is. What I'm now going to do is add my first egg. Anytime you add eggs, if you're doing it this method, always do 1 egg at a time. Don't try and be too clever and put too many in because you will find it extremely difficult to mix in. All right, so you see that? Let me just get zoomed in. There, see that? And when you do this, sorry, noise, you think, oh man, it's not going to actually go in together, but it does. You need to persevere and keep mixing and what happened here is it will combine into one harmonious lump. Okay, can you see that? What I'm now going to do is I'm now going to add my second egg in. Stir that in. Whiskey, good for the bingo wings. I'm going to stop 1 second, make sure that everyone's okay. Pineapple. Okay, we all okay? And so I put in mine, I put the white sugar in the cake. You can, what's golden syrup for? We're not using golden syrup. There is no golden syrup. So in here, sugar, butter, 2 eggs. This kind of slightly lump, not great looking mixture at the moment. But at this point, now you've done the creaming part, everything else goes in. So bowl back on. 100 grams, whoops, of self-raising flour. Make sure you get the right, accurate amount. 100 grams of self-raising flour. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, essence, the seeds, whatever's all good for you. All right, so in. Move that out of the way. Move this out of the way. We are near the end now. And now I'm going to add some baking powder, right? That just helps it kind of obviously rise. If you have a pot of, as you can get pots, it's 1 teaspoon. In these packets, there is already pre-measured a teaspoon in these packets. Right, just going to open the packet and put that in. What we now do is take it off the scale. Always remember that, by the way, students do that at school, is they try to make it kind of ruin the scale by beating bowls on the scale. Take it off the scale, and we're going to mix this together, and this will look like a cake mixture. Give it a good beat. So a reminder, if you're using an electric whisk, which is absolutely fine, all those last ingredients you would put in together and just whisk it. If you use a creamy method, it'd all come out the same. There we go. If you look at the consistency. Now at this point, you can add a drop of the juice. Okay, don't add too much. We probably talk about a tablespoon, I would say. And what that would do is that will actually help with some of the flavour. All right, so a tablespoon, measure not a teaspoon, a tablespoon of the juice or the syrup, whatever it's in. And that helps the flavour. If you've got the apple, don't worry about it. It's not an issue. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so if it's really thick, just adds a little bit of the juice from the pineapple, and that will loosen it out slightly and also flavour it. Okay, nice and smooth. Nice and smooth batter. Any problems? We all good? Yeah, so juice or syrup, not a problem. Oh, love from America. Hello, how exciting. Hello. Bring back our tea. These are amazing. Try and get yourself one. These bendy spatulas, they're great, because otherwise you lose half your cake mixture left in the bowl. All right, so now it doesn't look like much mixture, to be fair. So what you can do is you're going to just blob it over. Don't do it all in one in the middle. You want to sort of do blobs over the top. This will expand quite a lot. I mean, a lot. So just blob it over. Blob, blob, blob. And forget, if your oven's not on, it needs to be, but it's 160 electric, 160 fan, 180 if you haven't got a fan, but most people do, and gas mark 4 for the oven. Right, so I'm all scraped out. What I'm going to do, I've got a spoon, but that's fine, is use a spatula or a spoon or a wooden spoon, and you just want to gently, now don't worry too much about, if you're thinking, oh God, I can see the cherries, I can see the pineapple, I can see, there's not enough to cover it. There will be enough to cover it, because when it cooks in the oven, the mixture sort of melts and it will spread and it will cover everything and it will all be amazing. All right. Get that off my finger. Don't waste any, because it's all cake. All right, there we go. So, let me just try and clean my finger quickly. And there we go. Is everyone okay? Baking powder is a teaspoon, yeah, or 1 packet. All right, so you can see the cherries in there, but they will be encapsulated in the sponge. So this takes about 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes in the oven. The way that you tell is that it will obviously be risen and puffed. But what you need to be doing is you get a skewer or a knife, and you put a knife in, bring it out, and that should be clean. All right, but we are looking at around half an hour. Okay. What will happen is I'm going to go offline now, and in half an hour I will come back, and we're going to come back on Instagram, not on YouTube, just so you know. All right, so on Instagram we come back in half an hour and do the kind of how to get it out of the tin, the unveiling, if that's all right. So is everyone okay? Any questions before we go? How much vanilla was a teaspoon of vanilla? All right, we all good? Is everyone okay? Any problems before we go? Great, so in the oven, half an hour, test it with a skewer or a knife, and I'll see you in half an hour, right? So it'll be about 4:20, thereabouts. I'll go live and I'll show you how to, on Instagram, and I'll show you how to take it out of the tin. Okay, see you all soon, bye.